Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. Today we're spending some time on magnetic field testing to IEC 60601-1-2 using the Teseq NSG 4070C2-LFCP test system, along with the corresponding antennas. We'll begin the video by going over a little bit about the equipment, then we'll move to the test setup, and finally we'll go ahead and we'll run a calibration. When we're looking at the close proximity radiated magnetic field requirements of IEC 60601-1-2, we're concerned with the frequency range of 9 kHz to 26 MHz. During the video, we'll be using the Teseq NSG 4070C2-LFCP test system, as well as taking a look at the Teseq antenna kits briefly. During the video, we'll be referencing the Teseq guide for magnetic field close proximity testing and the user manual, which walks through the different setups and equipment in more detail. Let's go ahead now and let's start with taking a look at our test system. Here's the front of the NSG 4070C2-LFCP. It's very similar to that of the other NSG 4070C series models, with the exception of the 100-watt amplifier from 9 kHz to 50 MHz. This frequency range and power is atypical, as the most common commercial requirements, including IEC 61000-4-6, cover 150 kHz to 230 MHz. We'll walk through this unit in more detail in a later video. Let's go ahead now. Let's take a look at the front panel display. Alright, so now we're looking at the front panel display, and as you can see, we have the model number and amplifier, and then different choices along the right. These options are the same as the other NSG 4070 models, where we have the setup, power meter, generator mode, immunity mode, and info. As we navigate through the different menus, we use the function keys to the right of the display to select different criteria we're interested in, and the back button to go to the previous menu. The largest difference you will notice from other NSG 4070 models is going to be in the immunity mode menu, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at that. Starting along the top, we have our test level, loop, and amplifier. Just below that, we have the frequency range settings, and along the bottom, our modulation settings. Now, if we take a look to the right at the different function keys, we have options for test setup, monitoring setup, calibration, results, and show calibration file. The test setup is where you can change the different immunity criteria, so let's go ahead and let's click that. Alright, so this is where the test level, corresponding loop antenna, as well as other criteria can be changed. Let's go ahead and let's start with our test level. Let's go ahead and let's change that from 50 amps per meter to 65 amps per meter. To do that, hit the top button, the F1 button for test level, and let's go ahead and let's start with our start. You can see right now in the test level section, we have our 50 amps per meter indicated. We want to change that to 65. So go ahead and enter 65 on the keypad and then hit the enter button. We're to go ahead and do the same thing for stop, 65, and then enter. Alright, so we've just changed the test level. Let's go back. The next thing we can modify is going to be the loop type, and this is where you can select either the LAS 6100 or the LAS 6120. We're to go ahead and we're to keep the LAS 6120 selected for today. All the other testing criteria can be modified in very much the same way. Now let's go ahead and let's take a look at the antennas. Alright, so taking a look at our antennas now. On the left, we have the LAS 6120, which covers 9 kHz to 150 kHz. And then kind of in the center, we have our LAS 6100, which we're going to focus on for today's video, which covers 150 kHz to 26 MHz. Let's go ahead now. Let's take a little closer look at the LAS 6100. All right, let's go ahead now. Let's start from the left and let's work our way right. On the left side, we have the radiating area panel, and then just above that, the N to BNC adapter. Along the top, just to the right of that adapter, we have the tripod fixture. Taking a look now towards the bottom, we have the impedance matching network, the ANP 4039, which is used for 13.56 megahertz, which we're going to be using for today's video. As we work our way right, we have the loop sensor, and then next to that, our radiating loop antenna and spacer. Let's go ahead now. Let's take a brief look at the setup in the user manual. All right, so we're interested in the setup for 13.56 megahertz today. However, I did do a previous video which covers a different frequency range, which I'll put a link for in the description below. Right now, we're looking at page 78 of the user manual at figure 12, which provides the calibration setup for 13.56 megahertz using our ANP 4039. Taking a little look at our setup right now, we have the amplifier output on our test system going to the ANP 4039 matching network. From the matching network, we have the output going to our antenna, and then from there, we have the current probe connected to our power meter. Let's go ahead now, let's get the equipment set up, and let's run the calibration. All right, so now we're back at our immunity test menu here, and we're following that same setup guidance in the user manual for the setup for 13.56 megahertz. All right, so right now we have a test level of 5 amps entered. We have the corresponding loop antenna, and then we have our frequency range set for 13.56 megahertz. Let's go ahead now, let's hit calibration. And right now we're interested in a system calibration. All right, let's start the cal. And just like that, the system calibration has been completed successfully. As you can see, it's only 1 point for today's video. However, you'd follow a very similar methodology if you were doing multiple points. All right, that should complete the video today on near field proximity magnetic field testing to IEC 60601-1-2 using the Teseq NSG 4070C2-LFCP test system and the corresponding antennas. We began the video by going over a little bit about the equipment, then we moved to the setup, and finally we went ahead and we ran a calibration. We hope this video has been useful, and please keep us in mind if you ever need to rent equipment for near field proximity magnetic field testing.